So if you want to connect with database, you need Spring JPA dependency. And the parent, if you see the main jar, which is exactly required if you wanted to start your project in Spring Boot, this is called Spring parent dependency. Okay. And then we have added this jar, Spring Web. So basically, why do we need this Spring Web dependency? Because if you wanted to create endpoints, REST endpoints, so to enable some configuration, to enable some annotations like @REST template, @post mapping, get mapping. So all those comes inside this package in this dependency, Spring Web, Starter Web. Okay. Now another, yeah. So another is dev tool dependency. What is this dependency? It is nothing but it's just like an utility dependency. So as we all know, Spring Boot provide its own web application server like Tomcat or Jetty. So whenever you make some changes inside your application, so what happened? This particular dependency, it allows us to save your changes without restarting the server. It means you don't need to stop the server, then you need to build the application and then create a var or jar file and go to the server and deploy it. You don't need it at all. It will automatically pick up your changes when as soon as you press the Control S inside the any file. So how it works? Let me give you one demo. Let's say this server has already started in the application. Okay. And you are seeing this live logs here. Now, if I wanted to make some kind of changes here, let's say I'm just adding one bin here like this. I'm just adding a REST bin. And here I will return the new object of this REST template. I have to import this one also. So now my file is unsaved. You see here, this file is not saved yet. As soon as I press Ctrl S, you will see on the console, this log will automatically reload. See, I'm saving this now. So see, this again reloaded, correct? Reload server is running and server has started also. So this changes is already automatically picked up. Whatever I did the changes here. You got my point?
Yes.
So this is the use case of this particular dependency. So this is nothing but its name is dev tool because it helps to developer. Therefore, its name is developer tools. Another dependency we have added for S2 database. So what is this S2 database and why do we need it? So, like any application needs database. And if you want to save some data into the database, you have to connect with the database. Either it can be MySQL, Oracle, or any kind of Postgres or anything. But if you don't want to install or configure lots of things and just you wanted to make sure like your application is working fine, and probably you just wanted to see those functionality and save the data in just memory. In just memory means, let's say this application is up and running, and if I will save some record into this application, this data will remain saved till the server is up and running. As soon as I stop the server, the data will be vanished. So it saves only in the particular memory and some period of time. So this is just an in-memory database. Okay. Yeah. So another dependency we have added this one, Lombok. Lombok is nothing but this dependency allow to developer where they can remove the bipolar code. Bipolar code, I mean, means like, some kind of code is redundant in the application. Again and again, we have to write so many lines of code. So if you wanted to remove that redundant code, you can use this Lombok And what kind of redundant code it removes? So it basically it's required where you create the getter and setters in particular application. So let's say we have one model that is order. So we have two entities here, two fields, order ID and order type. So in this particular, to access this particular object, you need to you have to initially olden days, what we do, we have to create like this getter and setter. Let's just generate like this. You have seen so many times this getter and setters. It means 1 minute. What happened? Okay, we have added this annotation, therefore it's not allowing us to do. Let me remove it. The operation is not currently selection, the field which is not declared as the type of variable. Okay. See here. When you click on generate getter and setters, usually when we are not using the Lombok, we usually need this one, getter and setters, right? You have to get the order ID, then you have to set the order ID, then get order type, then set order type. And let's suppose if you have 100 fields in this class, then you have to write this 200 times. One is for get method, one is for set method. So it's like, like redundant code and unnecessary required lines of code. So better to avoid this situation, simply you can just use the Lombok. And Lombok provide this annotation. It has getter, it has setter. It works same like those getter and setter methods only. Okay. So this is very useful. And then what we did initially, we just targeted one particular table, which we call it like order table. Order table has two entity, order ID, order type. And we make this particular class as mapper class to our database table. Means this table, this class particular order table will be mapped to this particular table, that is name is st order. And we need to use two annotations. One is at the rate entity, another is at the rate table. Whenever we use this two annotation, it means the particular class will be treated as a database table, and it will represent this particular table. And whatever the fields we have inside this class, this particular fields will be mapped to your database column. So every table, in RDBMS, in relational database, we have primary key foreign key relationship, if you remember. So primary key means like the primary key is like a unique ID which hold data across that particular row among the table data. So here we have marked this order ID as a unique ID, and this will become the primary key of this table, st order. Therefore, we mark this particular field as a at the rate ID. Okay, and it comes from this package JavaX persistence ID. So primary key, whenever you insert the record, you don't need to maintain it because it should be maintained by your database table, auto increment. Say, therefore, we added this annotation, generated value. It means this particular annotation will auto increment this particular value, order ID. And what kind of generated strategy will be identity? Identity means this particular ID will be auto incremented by the database, not from the program. This is very important, and it always people ask what would be the recommended type of generated value in a JPA table. You have to tell this would be identity. There are so many other things as well. If you see auto increment also available, sequence also available. If you use auto increment, it means this will be auto increment by this particular application, which is not recommended one. Can you guess why? Why it should not be, should not be a recommended one? Any idea? No idea.
No idea. So I'm the only one in the class. I'm just curious.
No, Jyotsna also here.
Oh, okay.
A few members did not join.
Okay.
You there, Jyotsna?
Yes, hello.
So I was asking one question. Why do we need, why it is not recommended one? I was explaining this auto increment strategy, right? Something, there are few types are available to generate this particular ID as auto incremented. It can be either auto, it can be identity. Auto means this program will auto increment this particular ID into the database. This identity means that database itself will auto increment this ID. So I said this auto is not recommended one, which will be incremented by this particular program. The recommended one is identity, which is being auto incremented by the database itself. So do you think, do you know why it is not recommended one auto increment by the program and why it is recommended by the database itself? Any idea?
Is it gonna take null value or like that? Just
Let's say we have this database, okay? This is DB and this particular square one is your database. Oh, sorry, application, okay? And in now particular thing, just think about it. Whenever the user come to this, now let's say I'll create one browser as well here. Let's say this is the browser, client browser, okay? And let me put quickly some text here. Application, then client or browser, and here we have database, DB. So what happened when user access this particular application, okay? So it will send some data to the application, which needs to be saved into the database, correct?
Yeah.
So what happened when user requested some request to the application, it processed the data, and once it processed that particular request and it sent back to the database. Now let's say user asked to save one order details into the database. So application has created one increment, auto increment +1, okay, and then saved into the database. What happened? Someday some batch job is running on the backend side. So there would be, it can be possibility some batch jobs can also run, because like in banking system or in any application, support team or any other member can directly fire query to the database, can directly add the record into the database for the failure records, correct?
Yep.
So now 10 records were already added by the application, and application is thinking like the 10 is the maximum ID, okay? And it will generate the auto increment from after 10. Let's say it will generate from the 11. But some people has already add some data here in this particular database. Okay. 1 minute, I'm getting one call. Hello. Hello. Yeah, can I call you in some time because I'm taking some session. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. So I was talking about some batch jobs as well. So like database can be updated by the backend process as well. Backend means some jobs can come and fire some queries, trigger some data into the database. Now what it will do, it will add some more data into the database. After 10 records, it will increment the ID up to the 25 or 26. Now application will again try to access this particular database, and it will start increment from 10, which is completely wrong. because now here is the situation is the ID become 25, 26 by this base job, correct?
Yes, hello. Yeah.
So in that scenario, our application will throw an exception that something you will get like SQL exception or unique ID exception.
So it's
There,
going to be duplicate that value?
yeah, definitely, because let's say this particular application has already added 10 records and now it will increment from 11. But in the database, some batch job has already inserted some more data after 10 records. And now this ID become from 10 to 20 or maybe 25. How many records were added by this process based on that? Okay.
Yeah.
Jobs. And it will also push some data. One second, sorry. So two ways, like two people are pushing data here in this particular database. So ideally, if this DB, if it will only increment the value, then only this logic will remain same. Let's say application will only hand over the data, but the auto increment responsibility will be handled by the DB only. It will take data from application, it will increment the primary key. Same thing, it will get the data from job and it will maintain his primary key logic from database itself. So the person who is taking care of all these things for particular primary key ID, that only the database only. That should be the database, correct or not?
Yes, sir.
Therefore, it is recommended one to use the identity because the auto increment will be the managed by the database itself only. Is this clear now?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right. So far, I just explained this particular order table. On order table, we have met with this particular POJO class, which we have in Java. Okay. And the annotation, which I already explained you about this, why did we use it? And why did we use this all annotation? Any doubt so far? Or can we move ahead?
A couple of keywords there. What is a POJO class and
Okay.
what is a bean actually? You know, what is considered a bean?
So when we call it POJO, when we call it entity, and when we call it bean, or we can say Java bean, okay, or what we can say DTO. Sometimes we call it VO. Okay. So all these classes, like this POJO is like plain old Java object. It means plain old Java object. Entity means the particular class, which particular data it is responsible to hold the data for the database table. If we have one order table inside the database and it has two columns, and this particular class is holding the data for that particular class, we call it entity. Java beans. Java beans are nothing but it is same like POJO. The synonyms name you can tell, like it will allow you to put some property and create some getter setter. Again, this particular bean, Java bean, POJO class, entity, same like all this have these features, but entity, whenever we call entity, it means it is a table. But POJO can be anything. Without entity and table annotation is also possible to create POJO and Java bean. But the main and basic features of this, all this, the value I have written here, like POJO, entity, DTO, VO, Java beans. The main common property is to keep private member attribute and their getter setter. That's it. To keep private attributes. These are nothing but these are called attributes. What is order ID? It is an attribute. What is the type of data? It's a long. It is a private. Means this class can only access this. Other class will, if other class want to get this property, they have to go through the setter and getters. Therefore, we provide to them setter and getters.
So the Pojo class should always have private data members. Is that accurate?
Yes. Sorry. Come again. What was your last point?
No, so the class which has like the private members is typically referred as Pojo.
And it should have the accessor modifier as accessor as well. Accessor means setter and getters.
Right. All the data members and its implementation. Not the
Yes.
implementation. I mean, yeah, the defined type definitions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. That's clear now?
Yep.
Right. So now this part we have cleared. Now we need one repository class. We need one DAO class. So the DAO class is required to connect with your database. This DAO class will provide us like CRUD operation. And what is the CRUD operation? The CRUD operation are nothing but they will provide something like create method, read method, update method, and delete method. Okay. And why do we need this CRUD? Because every application, when we talk about application, the application is responsible to get the data from database, to upload the data into the database. I mean insert the data into the database, update the data, and it can delete also inside the record into the database. Therefore, this CRUD operation is very, very important for an application. So this terminology, what is DAO, what is repository? Let me explain you here. So DAO means, data access object. We call it as a data access object. And repository means it's a Spring terminology. All DAO classes is repository only, okay, in Spring. And which we were talking about CRUD one. So CRUD is just, C for CRUD, C for create, R for read, U for update, and D for delete. So it will provide the main four methods. How do we create it in Spring JPA? It's very, very simple. You just need to add this. First, you have to create an interface. You can give the name which related to your functionality or module. We are working on order, so it is order repository. This interface will extend another interface which is called JP repository. Okay. And why do we need to extend this JP repository? Because this JPA repository comes from this library. You see here, this package here. It is coming from Spring Framework data. It's coming from Spring Data JP repository. If you remember earlier, I showed you there is one dependency we have added here, which is called data JPA, right? Spring Data JPA. So this particular annotation is coming from this dependency. You see, data JPA repository. And now talking about this particular interface, JP repository. So it provides us like all those CRUD operations which I was talking about. Let me open this one and show you. So this was written by the Spring developers. And if you see here, it allows us lots of methods like find all. Find all means it will load the all data which is available into the database and return a particular list of type. This is called find all method. Okay. Then
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. I have a meeting in a minute here, so I'll have to drop off. I'll review the recording later in the night.
yeah, sure, Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah, I can't skip that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So another method if you see here, find all by ID. So it means you can provide some multiple IDs and you can get the multiple list. Okay. And then you have some different method like save all. You can provide multiple entities and you can directly save those list of records into the database. And then what are the useful method? I can just show you. Delete also it has. Okay. Save all these methods are available. Clear, Josna?
Yes, hello.
So therefore we need to extend this particular annotation interface. It allow us to use all this information here. Okay. And this was we have covered last session. And then we have a controller class. Let's jump on controller class. So in the controller class, you will see here, we had used this REST controller annotation and then request mapping annotation. And I don't think like, do I need to explain it again just now, or we can go ahead and cover different topic?
Yeah, you can cover different topic, hello. Yep.
Sure. Now, so let me today what we are going to do it. Today we will see how to connect with in-memory database. Okay. And what are the required steps we need to follow. So same like normal database, when we use the property of Spring, for S2 database also it will remain the same. But the thing is the value can become changed. So let's say you need to, first you have to provide the database URL. So Spring itself provide its own property spring.datasource.url. This is for your database connection URL. So in our case, we will use S2 database URL. Okay. Then you have to provide the username. So username is SA, and then you have to provide password. So in our case, we don't have any password. Okay. And then afterwards, you have to provide the class name, driver class name. So driver class name, if you are using MySQL database, you have to provide the MySQL driver. If you are using the Oracle database, you have to provide the Oracle driver. We are using S2 database, so we need to use the S2 database driver. And after finally, we have to provide this information, dialect. Just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Joseph. So I was explaining about this dialect. So what is dialect and why do we need it? So let me explain you. Dialect is just like an interpreter. Interpreter means like, let's say there are few delegates from different countries, and their prime minister doesn't know about their language. Let's say French prime minister is visiting to India, but he doesn't know about the Hindi and English, right? Since
Yeah.
now we have English, so everyone is speaking English. But like in ancient, in old days, we don't have that common language. So let's say he is French speaking person and our prime minister is Hindi speaking person, but they need to talk to each other. So in that case, they need an interpreter, right? Who knows the both language, French as well as Hindi. That interpreter person will help both of them to talk to each other. So this particular guy will help. First, it will convert French to Hindi and then Hindi to French, correct? So dialect will do the same thing. Whatever the query we write inside our application, it will convert that particular query according to the native database. So if we are writing, we will write the same query in JPA, but JPA query can run on the S2 database as well as MySQL, as well as Oracle, as well as the Postgres. So who help it? Dialect will help. Okay. It's clear now?
Yes. Yes.
All right. So let me quickly show you how it works, this S2 database. So You remember last time we had created this create order endpoint, correct?
Yes, sir.
Let me create this record inside the database. I need to check our server. Oh, it's off. Let's restart it. So let me call this API.
Mhm.
So see, there is one record has added. Now we have to verify it in database. So how do we do that? We need to call localhost URL here. So
Oh,
this is here localhost 8080 s2ui, then login.jsp. So it is our database UI, which we have added here, where in this application.property. So localhost 8080 is our local port, and afterwards we have added this console path in for UI s2-ui. That is what we are seeing in here in URL, correct?
yes.
Then we have to provide our JDBC URL. This is what JDBC URL. So where is the JDBC URL? This is the JDBC URL, which we have given here, correct? And then we
Yes.
have to given our driver name. So driver name also we have defined here. We have given the driver name. Then we have to give our username. Username you see here, SA, here we have defined. And there is no password in our case, so we are not providing password. Now we have to test the connection. Let's test it. Test is successful, then you can connect it. Once you will connect, you will see there is one table is got automatically created, ST order. If you remember, while creating this entity bin, we have defined this table name ST order. You remember?
Yes.
So whatever the table name you have given here, it's got created automatically. If you open this table, you will see these two parameters, two column name, order ID and order type here. So that's what we have added, order ID and order type, right?
Yes.
And same thing we are seeing here, order ID and order type. And now we have added one record here, which is this record. So this should here like show it there in the database. Let me query it. Select, just click on it, run the query, and you will able to see the record which we have added. Let me add some more records like business,
Mhm.
and then call it. It added, correct? Business 2. Let's
Mhm.
run this query again. See here, this data is got inserted here. Clear?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Now I need to get this by the postman, this both record, how I can get it. So we have created another endpoint. Let me call this endpoint at the URL. So we have another endpoint here in controller class, which is find all. And for this, we have to use get orders. So get orders, if you pass here get orders, and then the method type is get. So we have to change here, it's get. It's already changed. Let me fire it. You see here, we are getting both records, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yeah. Mhm.
Now I want to update the data. How can I do that? Let's say we had this create endpoint, create order endpoint. So to update particular record, you need to pass the ID as well. Let me show you how. So this two ID, which we have inserted as a business, now I wanted to change it as a NGO, and see what will happen. See, it got changed now, NGO, and verify into the database to run this query. So business will change to the NGO. You see here,
Yeah.
it is perfectly working fine.
So we can do it from Postman also. Like,
Yes,
okay.
we can do it, but you know, when we were adding the record, new record, to add new record, you don't need to pass the ID. First thing you need to take care.
Oh, okay.
But if you want to update any record from the table, so you
Mhm.
first you have to pass the ID as well. It's primary key. So here, so here you see, to update the same record, I had to pass this particular ID, primary key, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And which record I wanted to update, I need to pass that ID as well. Let me show you again. I wanted to add new record, so I need to remove this ID as from here in same endpoint. Now I will save it as a what can say school, and then save it. So third record will be inserted. You see here,
Yeah.
third record will be inserted, and if you go back to the database, if you run the query, you will see the another record here. Now,
Okay.
now you wanted to update record, then you need to pass the ID. Okay, let's say I wanted to update the first one, which was added as a education, and I'm going to add it as a hotel. So it will impact this record because we pass this order ID 1. So let's say send it now. See here, it got changed here. You can see here also. You see here, hotel.
So we should be careful while updating.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Okay. Now let's say we have to create now a few more endpoints. Let me create one more endpoint, which will give us record by the ID. Okay. So now we will create another endpoint, get orders by ID. And it will take one parameter. So just think on it. Let's say whenever you will create any method and which will take the parameter in URL, so you need to use request param, request param, this one, this annotation. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
One minute, I'm getting one call. Just a minute.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, Chachna.
No problem.
So I was talking about this request parameter, right? So, so to get the data from the request, to get the data from the request URL, usually we can use query parameter or request parameter. So I will show you both of them. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you will receive the parameter inside the URL, you will always receive as a string. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But here find by ID will expect the data in the form of long type of database. So we need to do one conversion here, long dot value of, which will take the string argument, okay, and convert it into the long.
Okay.
Okay. And now here, if you see, we are getting the error because this particular record only will fetch the record for order only, not as a list. So we need to change this list to the order only. Okay.
Okay.
But
It's not.
still the thing, because this particular method itself, it will return object of optional. Okay. So you need to check it like this. Let me show you quickly. Here you can save like this, order data equal to this, and create local variable. So this particular result in store in optional of order, and here you can simply return like this, is to get. Okay.
Mhm.
And save it. Let me quickly add some data here. Okay, order. I will remove it. I don't need it. Hotel, then education, then e-commerce, e-com. Then we will have school, or maybe you can say food. So we have added 4 records here. Let me show you to get all records.
Mhm.
These are the data we have added, correct?
Yeah.
Now I need to get only one record only based on the order ID. How can I do that? So let me copy this endpoint here. I'll paste here and go to this one. This change, we need to change the endpoint name. So we will change get orders. Instead of get orders, we will use get by order. And whenever you want to pass some parameter in the request, what you need to do? You need to use question mark. Okay. Then this parameter name, this is ID, copy it, then pass here and just provide the value. Let's say if you wanted to get third record, so I'll pass third ID and I'll fire it. See, I'm getting third record.
Okay.
If I want to get one first record, I can pass this one and I'll pass this. See, I'm getting one record, first one. If I'll pass two, I will get the record for two. This is how it works. Clear?
Yes. Yes, hello.
Any doubts so far?
So we can directly give the value over there in the endpoint.
Endpoint, correct. By passing the question mark, correct.
Got it.
There is another use case to pass data inside the query in the URL. How do we do that? So let me show you another endpoint. Again, let me copy this endpoint, and this time we will use the request path param. So get order by ID using path. Okay, and for that we need to use another way like this, and it will call it like ID, and this path parameter will be changed like this, path param. Okay. So what I have done, instead of, see, this URL was straightforward. We did not add anything, but inside this URL, I have added the placeholder in the curly braces. Okay. And same variable I am keeping here as well. Okay. And this time we don't need to pass this type of question mark. You see here, we pass the question mark and the parameter name ID equal to 2. Let me show you quickly. 1 minute. Let me copy this first, and I'll add some records. Food, then ecom, education. So we have 3 record inserted now. Let me get the all records. Okay, we have all records here. Sorry, I did not save it. Sorry. So we have this 4 record. So initial call, which we have created, get by order ID, using the request parameter, we were passing like this. Okay. Now another endpoint also we have created using the path variable. How we can do that? So we have to copy this first endpoint name. Okay, I copied it. Now we don't need this ID equal to 2. This time I will just remove completely, just use the slash and 2 and see. Okay, what happened? Something happened. Number exception, number format exception. Why? Order parse long value of is showing me the error order controller.
After request param, do we have to give the path variable like that?
Path variable you are saying? Yeah, I sorry, I used wrong one. Path variable, correct. Yeah, correct. Let me change quickly. Yeah, see here. So we don't need to pass in this way, ID equal to question mark and all, correct? We just pass slash and the direct value.
Okay.
It's clear now?
Yes, hello.
And one assignment for you, I will push these changes to GitHub repository. You need to create the delete endpoint. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, by yourself, you can create the delete endpoint.
Could you please give me that GitHub? I don't have the account, but I'll try to create.
Yeah. Once you will provide me your username, I will give you the access.
Sure.
Okay. So today we just covered most of the endpoints for this controller. Also, we have seen how do we configure the app in memory database. Okay. Another thing, we should use service classes that I will cover in subsequent tutorial. Okay. And maybe in next session I will show you how to consume the API from third-party APIs.
Sure, Alok. Yeah.
Okay, just practice this CRUD operation in good manner, and then we will see the another way of consuming the APIs from different system. We will call their service from our application, and then we will save that record response into the database. Okay.
Sure, Alok. Yeah.
So yeah, for now today we are good to go. If you have any questions, just please let me know, Jyotsna.
I have one question about that certification, Alok. Is it
Yeah,
okay to
yeah,
ask or?
yeah. Rashmi, you can stop the recording. You can ask Jyotsna.
So how it will go like the certification part? Like, I mean, say what type syllabus, what to prepare those things.
For that, first you have to provide us the content, what kind of content it has in that particular training, Jyotsna. Because without seeing the content, we cannot tell anything.
No, he was saying that only IZ0900 certification for Java. So when
Did you check
researched,
on internet?
it was saying that Java EE7 developer, something like that, in Oracle website.
Can you share your screen and show me?
Yeah.
Hello, Rashmi, you there?
Yes.
Can you stop the recording?